Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready for the Wot Supp podcast. With your host, Stu OG Industry Shannon and Will warren-davey, new school formulator extraordinaire. We're talking all things supplements with insiders, athletes, experts, and more. So sit back, relax, and prepare to find out what's up.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Wot Supp podcast. Unfortunately, this week, my co-host Stu Shannon will not be joining me. He's unfortunately in hospital today, but we do, to make you guys a little bit more cheery, we do have a phenomenal guest today with none other than Lee Priest, an Australian bodybuilding legend. His career of titles is longer than I think pretty much anyone else in the game. And as you know, we have a lot of area to cover today, both bodybuilding, supplementation, fitness, and get some really good industry insights from someone who's been on, at every level of the game you can be, essentially within the bodybuilding community. So welcome in, Lee. Thanks for coming on today, mate. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me,
mate. I wanted to crack in. I think being an IFBB pro at the age of 20, which I would have to think is probably one of the youngest IFBB pros ever.
I think maybe Shane Demora, he could have been around 19, 20 back in the late 80s. He might have been the youngest around then too, but I think he was 19, 20. So yeah, probably the same. And then, I think they'll probably be the youngest. And then I know Sean Ray, when he competed, could have been like 22 or so. So I think 20 is probably around the youngest as far as turning pro goes, yeah.
Mate, it's phenomenal. It's a phenomenal output. I think, and in that particular era, what I'd love to really unpack today is sort of go through, I suppose, that early period of competing, how that sort of one, how when it started, and two, I guess when you took that, when you saw that there was potential there, and you realized to start taking it seriously. Because obviously, if you're turning pro at 20, you started back. I believe your first shows was 16, 17, I think it was.
I first started competing and won my first 3 bodybuilding shows when I was 13 years old.
13. Amazing, mate. Amazing stuff. At 13. So I think from that period of time, when did we sort of start getting some inklings that this was something we're going to take a lot more seriously? So if we started at 13 and we started seeing some wins sort of stacking in, when did it really start sinking in that, hey, this is something I could really crush at?
Probably not till I got to America when I was 19, 20, because I just did it for fun. I never got into it. A lot of guys get into a sport because they want to maybe like excel at it. There's a lot of guys saying, I want to be a pro bodybuilder and I want to do this. It's like me. I was just growing up and I loved things like $6 Million Man because he was strong, and my mum named me after Lee Majors, a $6 Million Man. I liked Superman. And then when the He-Man cartoon came out, I'm like, man, I'd like to look like He-Man. So I never got into it for competing wise or to be a bodybuilder. I just got into it because I wanted to be like He-Man. My grandfather did a bit of training because he used to do wrestling in the army and stuff. So when I was young, I'd just do push-ups and chin-ups in the garage and stuff. But when I was just 12, going 13, I started going to a Nautilus Newcastle gym in Union Street in Newcastle and started training there, where Paul Haslam was in there. He's won the Mr. Australia before and done powerlifting and stuff. So I was in there with him, and I won my first 3 shows. I thought, well, that's cool. And then at 14, I won some more and placed third in the men's open at 14. And 15, I won the state titles and that. And 16, I actually took the year off because I'm like, I'm sick of dieting already. I just want to have fun. And then at 17 is when I won my first Mr. Australia and placed second in my class at the universe at 17. And they said I was too young to turn professional at 17. So at 18, I won the Mr. Australia again. They still said I was too young because normally any other country, if you win your national title, you get your pro card. So then at 19, I won it for the third time. They didn't give it to me. So Lou Zewick used to have this show on ESPN in America. And he was going to fly me to America to do the Niagara Falls amateur show. So I packed my bags, went to America, just thinking I was going to be there 2 weeks. Once I got there, I was training at Gold's. Jim Mannion saw me, who runs the NPC, and he's like the head IFBB judge. Just asked me what I was doing. I told him who I was, what I'd done. He's like, we should have your pro card. I said, yeah, but I said I was too young and wouldn't give it to me. So he made a few phone calls to Wayne D'Amelia. Wayne D'Amelia called Paul Graham back in Australia, and they gave me my pro card when I was in America. So I ended up doing the Niagara Falls Pro Show. And my first week in Golds, I did a photo shoot, excuse me. And they sent those photos to Joe Weider, and Joe Weider signed me to a contract. So my two weeks that I was going for ended up being 18 years.
Wow, what a little line up there. I mean, I know you just brushed over a lot of those national wins, the universe comps, like a lot of those things that most people would highlight. That would be the highlights of their entire career. You'd sort of done before you were even in your 20s. You know, this is a I guess, and I think that was what I think really drew a lot of attention to your career, and even afterwards is what has been so, I suppose, not really seen again, is just the level, like how the amount of titles you had under your belt in your mid to late teens, and the level you sort of had already ascended to before you're even in your 20s. We haven't seen that really since. Like that's just the amount of muscle maturity required to win at that, to compete at that level and have people that you got the attention of. Those names you mentioned aren't small names. They're big guys in the industry, and they're signing contracts. It takes a long time to build a physique that can grant that kind of attention. I
was always lucky because everything I apply myself to. Because the thing is, even to this day, anything that I love doing, I never see it as a job or work. And I think no matter what field you're in, if you have a passion for something and you love doing it and it's fun, you're going to excel at it. You're going to enjoy going to so-called work. I never really called it work because I go to the gym, lift weights, mess around a bit, do whatever. Sure, contest time, you're more focused for 16 weeks with the diet, training, and everything else that comes with it. But yeah, I just found I had fun doing it. I enjoyed it. I excelled at it. It's like, skip forward a long way. When I was about 2005, I got into car racing in America. And I enjoyed that because I had a few fans that did it. So they said, hey, Lee, you want to come drive our cars, do this? So I won a few road races. I navigated a couple of times and won navigating. Then I did like circle track, and then I got into the dragsters and won. My first year in dragsters, I got third in the championship and rookie of the year. The following year, I won the championship drag racing in America. So and that's funny, if you have a passion and you love doing something, you'll excel at it. And I always get to think, when I was younger, I see it all the time. I think someone put up some younger photos the other day, and as soon as it comes up, steroids. That's it. My sponsors hated it because I was always honest with my drug use, and people used to say, Lee, you can't say you've done that. I said, look, if somebody asks me, have I used steroids? I say, yes. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to bullshit, because the moment you lie to someone, they're never going to believe a word you say again. So I'd rather be honest. So if somebody asks me at a seminar, have you used? I'd say, yeah, I've used. I never said I was using right now. So I just said, yeah, in the past I've used, but I never touched a steroid till I was 19. Because those Mr. Australias I won, I was still a lightweight, which I think at the time was under 72 kilos. And because I'm only like 5'5" and a half, I always throw the half in because people go, why do you say a half? I say, because when I go to the doctors and he stands me against the wall, he says I'm 5'5" and a half. So, us guys, every inch and a half, whatever counts. So I just when I just got to 19, because I said I won the Mr. Australia, I pretty much won everything I could naturally. Like I said, because I was shorter, even when a photo came up the other day, someone goes, Lee, what do you weigh in this picture? I'm like 180 pounds. It's like, oh, you look a lot bigger. And if you have the muscles in the right proportions and you have good symmetry, it's all an illusion on stage. If you're big and like just shredded, you can look a lot bigger. I've seen guys who have maybe a 17-inch arm, but if it's like just good quality muscle, it can look 18, 19, 20. Like I said, it's all an illusion. So people think, oh, he took steroids because look how big he is, but I wasn't really that big. I was probably just like a lean greyhound with a lot of muscle at the time. So, yeah, but I always say to people, if you look at me from 17, 18, 19 till I won my last Mr. Australia in the under 70s, and then halfway through the year 19, I'm going, fuck it, and I did a course at Becca and put on 20 pounds. You'll see the difference from when I went from natural to, I went from this lean-looking thing to a smaller version, a little mini Dorian Yates in the same year. That's when I went to America. So, although that's the thing today I even hate, we're going off on a tangent here, but when people just throw out steroids as, I could do that if I took steroids, I could do this if I did that. It's like the amount of guys when I've traveled the world that take steroids, and I could, Gold's Gym, for instance, I could probably point out 50 people in there. He's on gear, he's on gear, he's on gear. And if you looked at them, you wouldn't even know they trained. It's like, when I did seminars, people say, Lee, what do you take? My natural testosterone level, I haven't been on gear now for God. I think when I had my car accident in 2015, I might have done DECA twice because, back in the day, the pharmaceutical type DECA could help repair joints and shit, but never fucking did. So I stopped taking it. And then when I thought, I might take a bit of test one day, I had a shot in the shoulder and the third, I went, fuck this, I don't need it anymore. So I've always had a high natural level. When I did the World Championships, naturally, I had to get a drug tested plus a thing from the doctor saying, because I had my blood done, I'm going to be 50 this year, and my natural testosterone was like 700 now.
Wow.
So if I took testosterone, I'd only take a small amount, like 400. People go, oh, you're fucking lying, you take more. I said, look, if I take Cypionate, it was 400. if I took sus 250, let's hope it's 250 a meal. It's probably fucking 240, who knows? But if it's 250, I'll take 2 meal. That's 500. I had a guy in America once say, Lee, take more, you'll get bigger. So for a couple of weeks, I took 800 milligrams a week. I felt like shit. That's why if I've used tests, because my natural level is higher, anybody, any male really, if you've got natural testosterone and you want to take tests, take a small amount. You only want to take enough to add to your natural amount. You don't want to take this much that your own natural then just shuts right off and that. But I did seminars in England. I talked to kids over there. They'd say, what are you taking? They're like 400. They go, I heard you take this. I'm like, yeah, I've heard that too, but I'm the guy fucking taking it. I think I know what I put into myself. I said, well, that's not the reason to lie. If I took 50,000 milligrams, I'd tell you, because I don't give a shit. I said, in all my interviews over my life where I've talked about my sex life, my family life, I said, I think I'm going to lie about bloody drugs and shit like that. Some of the sex stories that came out in MD magazines and stuff, people go, why did you say that? I said, because they asked me. I said, I'm not going to lie. I'm the type of person where if I've done anything crazy, outrageous, whether it be in life, sexual, whatever, I'll tell people, because that way, if someone ever found out and they go, hey, Lee, I heard you did this, I'm going to tell everyone. I'm like, too late, I already have. So there's no blackmail material for them. So when I did seminars in England, I talked to young kids, and some of them are on 2,000 to 5,000 milligrams of test a week. And their thinking is, I'm taking 2,000 and I look like this. He's way bigger than me, so he's got to be taking more. I'm like, it doesn't work that way. That's just not it. I said, if you don't have the genetics, and I said, the main thing is too, it's like what's up in here in your head and what's in here, the heart you have, because I said, you can take all the drugs in the world, but you don't have genetics, you don't have that drive, you don't have that determination and just that willpower. I said, at a young age, I was always disciplined. That's why at 13, I'd go for these contest diets. I'd train every day. My mum hated it because we'd go on holidays with the caravan. The first thing I packed in the caravan was my weight bench and my weights. I never missed a workout at 13. I'd always be eating. My mum said it was terrible if we stayed in a hotel. There would have to be a gym close by, or he'd pack his weights in the car first. And if you didn't have room for your suitcase wasn't going. So it was like.
So where did that come from? Sorry to butt in. I'm very curious. Was that you mentioned your granddad had a military background? Was it, I suppose, was that what might have put that, because like bodybuilding is a very disciplined lifestyle. Like, you essentially live like a monk. I think Dorian Yates is the most well known for saying during his time competing, he said, I lived like a monk for 12 years. And that was the only way he attained the level that he said he could, was having to dedicate everything to it. And it's very, especially at being, I mean, that's 13 years old. That's equivalent of being in year 7, year 8 in school. Like barely in high school, and you're already. I wouldn't imagine a lot of people around you got a regular exercise regime and are looking at what they're eating, and no one would be. So how did that happen? Where did that sort of influence come in that made you start structuring things?
The earliest I can remember is like even going back to my stepfather, because my mum and my father separated when I was young, and my stepfather was a coal miner and he'd get up early, so I'd get up early with him, or I'd get up before him. I think he had started work at 6, so he'd get up about 4:30, but I'd get up at 4 o'clock and I'd just do stuff, and then I'd make him breakfast when I was 5. I'd cook him eggs and that on toast. So I was always structured doing stuff. And then even when it came to exercise, before I ever went to a gym at like 7 or 8, we used to be up this hill at Wall's End, Nelson Street, the top. And I would, at 6 or 7 or 8, I can remember I'd have a BMX bike. Couldn't afford a mongoose because they were all a chrome bike. So I just got some grey chrome paint and put on, so I can the cheap version. That was my mongoose, put a mongoose pad on it. So, but it was like, when I was younger, I'd ride up the hill, but I'd stand up to ride. And I'd challenge myself. Now, I'm not allowed to stand up. I've got to sit on the seat and pedal up the hill. Because when you stand up on a bike, you get that, you can push down. So I'd always have to sit on it. And when I accomplished that a few times, it was like, I'd go to the bottom and get my sister and put her on the bar in the middle. Now I've got to go up the hill, but I've got to take her with me. And then a lot of times I put the family car in the driveway with the handbrake off and just push it back and forth in the driveway. I was always trying to do something where it was just, challenging myself strength-wise, or would go down to the entrance or down this Swansea where the channel would go out at low tide. I put my sister in one of those big inflatable boats and just run against the current, then float back, and then run against the current and float back. So I always said if I wasn't in bodybuilding, like the military or police, anything that's sort of regimented, because I like that sort of, right now, just carefree. But when you go in the contest mode, everything's like eat at this time, train at that time, eat again at this time, cardio this time. I sort of like that structure type thing. So I said, once I just focus on something, I just enjoy doing it. So when I was at a young age, even though, like I said, I never thought I'd be professional. Even when I came to America and I was coming to do that amateur show I just turned 20, people like, oh, you're going to be pro? I'm like, no, I'm not going to be pro. And I still remember my first pro contest, because here I am coming to do an amateur show. I get thrown into the pro show. And this was at the time where I think David, Durf, Henderson, Fawn, like, all these guys I've been looking at in the magazine. So I remember still standing on stage. And as I'm standing there, I'm like, wow, there's fucking David Durf down there. There's such. I'm not even thinking about me competing against them. I'm like, wow, it's like, the magazines have come to life, and here I am standing on stage with these guys that I've been looking at for years in the magazines. So
it's incredible, isn't it? And that level of competing, I really want to know. We've looked at sort of the early origins, but I want to switch gears and see how, as that evolved, and as you obviously realised that this was something that was going to become a huge part of your life, and you took it start probably when people like Jim Mannion and stuff are making calls for you. You probably go, okay, I'm onto something here. As our sort of competing career progressed, was there any sort of change, I suppose, in your approach through that time to the nutrition and dieting part in preps? Because I'm interested in, I suppose, you're someone who popularised, I suppose, they even knew it as the Lee Priest bulk. That was, bulking was, I think you built that. Like that was a big part of your legacy. I think is like you were the actual person they put in the meme when they were doing the bulking photos, and I thought
I still see them popping up now. A couple pop up.
Yeah,
it's classic. Contest time. If you love me when I'm in my off season, you love me when I'm. It's always the picture of me in the KFC or something, or But I never really. Well, even to this day, I sometimes think that maybe in my off season I could have made better gains, because off season to me was off season. Because I was so, like I said, structured contest, diet, cardio, eat at this time, train at this time, like for those 4 months or 5 months, and then you might get a couple of months break. I would just go eat McDonald's if I wanted, eat Chinese, or I might have steak and rice, but then an hour later, a tub of ice cream, and then I'd have chicken and salad, and then a packet of chips and chocolates, and people are like, oh, you're getting fat, you're getting fat. I'm like, I don't give a fuck, it's off season. I want to be normal. I want to be a normal person, where some people, even around just locally here, it's like they're so focused on eating, and it's like, I can't go there and eat, or if they go there and eat, like, can I have this? No, unless you've got allergies and shit, don't be so fucking idiot, Or it's like they say, can I get this chicken without? I'm like, stay home and fucking eat that. If I'm going out to eat, I want something nice that I would never have at home. I'm not going to go out and order chicken breast and rice when I can have that at home every time. So I'll just be eating whatever I want, because I want to enjoy it. And, in California, a lot of people like to keep their abs all year round, or they wanted that chiseled look because, they're bodybuilders, actors, models, and, so forth in minds. But me, I'm like, fuck it, I'm just going to live life and have fun. I know contest time I can lose the weight, so people would laugh, because I think the heaviest I got up to was like 285, which is like 135 kilos. But I'll drop 75 pounds. I'll be in contest shape within 12 weeks just by going from bad food to good food. And I think that's why I responded so well, because, sometimes if you're eating the same food constantly, your body adapts to it. It's like if you do the same cardio at the same pace every day, or you do the same workout, your body adjusts, and it just becomes routine. So if you're eating chicken and rice at this time, the same amount, your metabolism body just gets used to it. So I'd go from one extreme to the other, and I'd just eat whatever. And sometimes I would only eat 2 meals a day, because I could have such a big breakfast and it fills me up. I might not eat till 5 hours later. That's why I never got into this bullshit where people go, well, if you don't eat right after training, you're going to go catabolic and all this. I'm like, oh, fuck off. It's like, you've got body fat on you. You think the body's just going to start eating the muscle first before everything else. It's just like, people go, I said, yeah, there's a little bit of science behind it. I think sometimes people overthink it. And that's why from when I was 13 to even when I was at the pros, I never talked to anyone about drugs. I tried what I knew worked for me. I tried growth twice. I didn't feel anything from it. I preferred to use stanozol, and the price of growth, I'm like, fuck paying for that again. So it was like, the basics were like Decker and Test and Dianabol. And to this day, that's what, when I was competing, even up to the university in 2013, 2006 to 2013, I took those 7 years off.
Yeah.
Decided to make a comeback at 42 and won the universe. I did the exact same thing. That's why, I said, there's so much, like I said, internet and the social media, there's so much information, but I think people try and overcomplicate something like training and dieting when it's so basic. I don't even call it dieting. Okay, for a contest, you have to go on a contest diet, specific foods, but people in general, I don't even like to say a diet. It's just really sensible eating. It's just like cleaner eating. What food is good and what food's bad. So if you want to get in shape, just eat clean. Don't call it a diet, because then if you start thinking you're on a diet, then you start restricting shit, after a couple of weeks, you're like, fuck this, and you go and binge and eat something crazy. But like I said, even training, when people go, Lee, what do you do for biceps or this or that? Because you got great arms. I'm like, I do the exact same thing you do. I do barbell curl, dumbbell curl, preacher curls. I said, there's no secret that, I said, just because I got the genetics, I respond better, my arms grow better, because everyone's always looking for this magic pill to lose weight, this magic drug to get bigger, or it's like, okay, I've tried this diet, that didn't work. What are you doing? It's like, yes, because when I grew up, I learned from the magazines. We didn't have the internet or stuff like that. I think maybe when I was 12 or 13, the Commodore 64 computer come out or something like that, but didn't have any internet access like you do now. So, I was, in those young days, I found a Playboy under my dad's bed, and I was like, oh, wow, look at that, bush and boobies, wow, Playboy. And my mates would come over and show the Playboy, thinking, man, now if I had like these fucking porn hubs and shit, I'd be like, Jesus Christ. I'd be like,
it was a different era, mate. It was much more.
It's don't know how good they got it now.
it wasn't, but that was like that is so valuable. But like that period of time where it was like the way that knowledge was passed down was people would go to the big guy in the gym and you'd ask him, oh, what do you do? And then it was all word of mouth. There's no one really knew what anyone else was doing, and I think now people get confused because I guess with and owning a sup company, particularly, I find a lot of people, yes, the magic pill is like a big part of what people are looking for, right? They'll ask me something, and then what can I do to burn fat, or what can I take to lose fat, and yeah, like I always look at that area and I think it's always they're looking for the way out of the very obvious elephant in the room, the very, very obvious part, diet, exercise, right? But I want to know with you.
I don't want to do that. Diet and exercise involves, that's hard. I got to do effort. I got to put effort into that. And
over a consistent period of time and actually do it for 12, 6, because we always say 12 or 16 weeks, but that's 3-4 months that you're putting your life on hold, really. I think obviously there's.
I don't think you have to put it on hold, because I think that's where people make the mistake. Because I know I did in the beginning for a while. I know a lot of people in different sports do, where when I first started dieting as a pro, it was like, okay, I got to eat this and I got to eat that, so I can't go out. It's almost like I can't be happy. You want to go to a movie? No, I can't go to a movie because I just don't want to see other people eating popcorn. It's almost like you make yourself so miserable that then you don't enjoy the dieting and stuff. That's why I try and tell people, yes, don't say diet, just say eat clean. And if you want to go out, yes, you can get maybe steamed vegetables at places and fish and stuff. So it might not be as clean as you get at home, but it's still clean food compared to a lot of other options. So if you are going to eat clean or even diet, just enjoy it. Don't make yourself miserable, or do it with friends. Have a challenge with, there's a few ladies going to the gym, just do it all together. So it's like, you can have fun if you do it in a group. That's the worst things people do. It's like I said, as soon as you make it a chore, like, oh, I have to get up and go do cardio for this amount of time, or I have to go do this. As soon as you start doing that, like I said, as soon as you start hating it, then it's just going to go backwards very fast. So you've got to find a way to make it enjoyable, make it fun. Don't think of it as a chore type thing. Just, as you said, 12 to 16 weeks, yes, that can seem like a lifetime, but, you've been picking out for the last 200 months, putting all that weight on or so shit like that. And you think, okay, if I do these 12 or 16 weeks, that's going to benefit me for how much longer into the future. If I'm healthier, I might be able to live longer. I might be able to, do other stuff. So, there's pros and cons to anything. But like I said, as soon as you start, like I said, I think it's the worst thing when people say, I've got to go on a diet. And they go too quick, too fast, where they go tuna and rice, or just a small salad like this. When they've gone from eating something massive, now all of a sudden they've restricted it. Because I know when I dieted, I'd be eating cheap food all the time. As soon as I went to clean food, the first week or two, I'd actually feel sick because, I'm eating fats and sugars. Come Saturday, Sunday to Monday, boom, chicken and rice and this.
Yep.
My body goes into shock, like, what's this type of thing? So even if you are going to go on a diet, don't do the old, I'm going to start Monday type thing. Just if you are eating somewhat not good, just slowly make changes as you go along. Just make little changes here or there. Just slowly cut down the amount, or slowly add a couple more salads in and take something out. So that way it doesn't seem like you're going from this big drastic thing to that straight away. And then when you do it fast too, your taste buds go, oh, this tastes like shit. But anyone that's into a diet for a couple of months, the food you thought tastes like shit, you're like, this tastes great, because oatmeal is one of my favorite things dieting, and rice cakes. Like, I hate rice cakes, but when I'm dieting, these like the greatest thing ever. I'm like, I'd say to my wife, you know, when I stop dieting, I'm going to keep eating these because these are so great. The day I stopped dieting, they all got tossed in the fucking bin. So it's like,
it's a good way of making you appreciate it.
Yeah.
Makes
Well,
you very appreciative.
because I'd go out and eat when I was dieting. That's the biggest thing ever. God, make food for people. You go out and eat, excuse me, and I'd have my chicken and salad, and they'd be having a burger and fries and that. And I'd eat mine, I eat theirs, and I'm watching them eat theirs, and they leave half. I'm like, you going to eat that? They're like, no. I'm like, eat it. They're like, I don't want it. I said, eat it. Because you're thinking, well, I can't eat it. And I'm thinking, you don't know how good you've got it. You should appreciate it. You fucking eat it. I start getting mad at them because they won't eat it. I said, how can you leave half a burger? They're like, I don't want it. I'm thinking, I can eat it, but I can't eat it.
Well, what was it's interesting though, because your mindset, I guess you were like your era was probably described as the golden era in a lot of ways, and you had a really cool, like, great transition period where you saw, some freaks like Dorian emerging, and as well as like the Lavrones and the Colemans and some of the biggest names in the game really were starting to emerge towards that throughout that career. But they sort of popularized, particularly Dorian popularized a different mindset to what you were sort of describing, where, and I think it's something, I think that's how it got so entrenched in bodybuilders, that it has to be a grind. It has to be a process. You have to isolate yourself. You have to put yourself in a dungeon. You have to hurt. You have to hate your food. You have to eat as bland as possible and not enjoy your food. And you've got to really slog through it. And I think that was very much that era, right? That was as I suppose in that early 2000s era, what a lot of us grew up on was watching those guys popularizing that sort of mindset in bodybuilding. Yours is a much more, I suppose, and you've spoken on mindset a fair bit so far.
My mind, sorry to cut you off there. Well, my mindset was exactly the same as theirs in the gym while I'm training or dieting. But then I learned once I leave the gym, it's almost like if you're a police officer, don't take your work home with you. Talk about the accidents you've seen or people murdered or anything. You don't want to take your work home with you. So I'd try to be like serious in the gym training and do whatever. But then when I got home, I said in the beginning I used to, and I know a lot of bodies to this day still do, go home and the wife's like, you want to go for a walk? No, why not? Because I just trained and I got to eat, and if I walk, I might burn muscle. Like, they got that mentality where if they do anything else, they're going to burn muscle and shit like this. So they make themselves miserable, to make their partner miserable or shit like that. So it's like, yes, be serious in the gym, bust your ass, do whatever. If you go home and eat a meal, that's fine. Then if you want to go for a drive or a walk with your girlfriend, go. Want to go to a movie, go. You've done your work there. It's at the gym. So you don't need the same mindset being so at home. No, I just got to sit here and grow now. I can't do anything else. That's what some of them are like, You hear stories of the guys having sex with the miss as soon as they have sex. I got to go have a protein drink now because I just expended calories, and if I don't get that protein back in, my muscles won't grow. It's like the mentality that goes on in some people's heads is just like crazy. Like I said, be serious with your training, but other aspects of life, just relax and have fun,
I think it's because it's a sport that attracts extremes. I think, and it is an extreme sport in terms of every other sport. You can clock off after the game. Usually, bodybuilding, as you know, it follows you, right? Like, it comes with you. And I think that, so I think it attracts a certain personality type of people who know it's hard, and that's why I got attracted.
A nice way of putting that personality type. You mean dickheads?
That's a good way of framing it. I love that.
Walked into the gym and seen them dickheads.
And we've copped a bad rep, unfortunately, I think. But I think we. Yeah, well, I get from. I'm glad we've got the video on this one too. People on YouTube can have fun with this later. But I think with so I guess with your approach then, with the outside of the gym, what did a day in contest prep look like for because you would have been in prep pretty much just continuously for years. I think if you had that mindset of, let's just every day is a grind, nothing, comp comes first, everything else goes on the back burner. Well, you were just literally living the comp prep life just back to back for decades. So you probably, if you had that mindset, it probably would be at the detriment of everything else in your life. I'd say your partner would hate you. You'd be all your friends. You wouldn't have a social life. So how did you sort of mold that in? Because I think a lot of people get value out of that. A lot of my listeners are, they're at the very least they live the lifestyle. They love training. They watch what they're eating. They're in, a lot of them are owning supplement stores. They're coaches. They're personal trainers. And I think a big part of it is how to balance how they balance their lifestyle they choose, where with the gym and the eating and the training and the supplementation, with merging that into a normal life where you're still outside of it. And how do you sort of put that in. So did you make like a conscious decision to sort of, I need to make bodybuilding fit my lifestyle, or how did you come to that sort of balance?
Because it was sort of my job, I just didn't want to keep bringing my job home with me. And like, I know people who go to the gym now who they might go train early and then they might do their meal prep and stuff because I see your photos on Instagram, 100 containers lined up on the counter and stuff like that. It's like, it's almost like vegans. Sorry, vegans, but they got to they're vegan. They talk about being fucking vegan all the time. People in this industry can be the same annoying pricks like that because they tell you about their meal prep all the time and how much they're eating now, what they're going to eat later. It's like, shut the fuck up. We don't care. Go eat your fucking broccoli under the tree. It's like they just keep going on, but you just got to find that, like I said, just that balance. Yes, go to the gym, train. But then if you got to go to work, have your meals. But, make the meals, like I said, it all depends on what you eat or what your purpose is, whether you want to lose weight, gain weight, you just want to stay in shape type thing. And there's all different, when it comes to dieting, different things on food amounts and stuff like that. But just say the general person wants to eat clean and just get in shape to be healthy. And I think a lot of them don't need to go to the extreme they go to, you know what I mean? So they'll see these girls on the Instagram who have fucking been training for years and they have these great bodies and fucking, they get me started on the fucking butt blasters and everyone doing fucking hip thrusts, shit like that. Fuck me dead. Go do squats and lunges for God's sake. So if I see bucket machines doing, and the worst thing is you want to see guys doing those hip thrusts. You don't do them, do you? Well, say you don't do them.
Okay. But I'm just curious as to when that because you would have seen that
machine at the gym. I'm coming.
I'll leave. I'll just run out. You can actually check this too for our listeners at home. We train at the same gym locally, so there is a very real threat that I can no longer train glutes. But I'm interested to see how that went. Where that there was such a different mentality around training before Instagram came and took the fitness industry and just ran with it. Like it was such a different. I mean, we've spoken about this at gym before, where you're just in casual passing, just going how different the vibe was. I sort of started about 10 years ago with training, so it was just at the end of that sort of, and like Coleman and Cutler and we're sort of really at their prime, and I suppose training was all about get in there, work hard. It was work ethic focused. Facebook was just in the beginning. And there was
you got MySpace. Remember MySpace?
Yeah, there was MySpace and NBN before. MySpace and MSN Messenger and stuff before then. But if you posted a gym photo, you get roasted by mates. Like, oh, look at this dickhead, look at this guy, look at this guy.
I was laughing talking to my friend the other day at the gym. I said, now let's just say before all this crap came out with mobile phones. When I was young, we had the camera. You get your film, you take it down to the camera shop, wait for it to get developed. I said, could you imagine if I had, you get like a packet, 24 photos in the packet. You imagine if I just come up to you and I'm like, hey, Will, come here, look at this. Go through my photos. Look at that. Oatmeal. Fucking bowl of oatmeal, mate. If I just started showing you photos of food, you'd be like, this guy's a fucking nut. It's like, what you doing? Hold on, Will, I got a better photo here. Look at this one. You're doing leg extensions, huh? Look at that one. Hold on. Chicken and carrots, Will. Look at that photo. Like, if you just show people photographs like in the old days, I think you're a nut. Like, you're taking photos of your food. What are you, fucking dickhead? But now it's just like people do it now just like it's second nature and stuff. It's like, I'll take photos of food, but mine would be like if I'm eating a nice big piece of cake and ice cream, something that looks actually tempting and nice, and something like a nice big meal that I said, but healthy food. I'm like, so if you get those big burgers, that's worthy of a photo, or a big milkshake with shit hanging off it. But just chicken and rice and broccoli, it's like, well, wow, that's exciting, isn't it? Let me go into the corner and have a tug over that. It's like, I don't get it why people do that. But
it became okay, and I think that's something I've noticed with. And obviously, from a business perspective, and you've obviously been the face of some massive companies as well. You've had, with Black Skull, and with I suppose moving forward, you've had your own supplement. Yeah, you've had your Viking as well. You've had your own supplement line as well. So you've probably seen it too. I think the influence has been holistically positive in that it's grown the whole industry massively. The fitness industry has exploded as a whole. It's changed a lot in the way I suppose as well, the sort of people now who come across our sort of, this sort of space. Before it would have been guys like ourselves who just lived and breathed training, who really enjoyed the discipline, who got, that was a big part of it. And we really enjoyed the routine and the work ethic. And then it's now we're sort of getting a whole exposure to a much broader audience. And I see I suppose a lot of different customers I wouldn't have, necessarily seen before. So it's overall, I think it's a net positive. It's giving us more, a lot more people in the industry than there used to be.
I think more people are becoming aware of fitness, whether it be, I know a lot of bodybuilders in the beginning hated CrossFit. People are like, "Lee, what do you think of CrossFit?" I said, "Doesn't bother me if they like doing it, do it." I said, as long as people are out there doing something, who gives a shit what it is? It's like, in the beginning, you see some people like, if you watch the CrossFit games and stuff like that, they do it, but they do it properly. Then you'll see it's like even bodybuilding. You'll see a guy like myself or another pro training correctly. Then you'll see the dickhead in the corner swinging shit up and down. It's the same with CrossFit. You'll see a guy doing it properly. Then you'll see a guy trying to do it however he can, like a fucking snake being electrocuted. I don't know what the fuck they're doing over in the corner. So, but it's the same as everything. The people that got at CrossFit, as long as they're moving, who cares? If people are doing circuit training, I don't care if someone just doesn't go to the gym and they walk around the block a few times. As long as people are out there moving and are conscious of their health and trying to better themselves, who cares what people do? Why does there have to be this conflict between bodybuilding or CrossFit or bodybuilding and powerlifting and all this sort of stuff? It's like, everyone's just out there to feel good and make themselves better. So who cares what people do? It's like, it's like I actually enjoy seeing some of the crazies in the gym because when I'm doing cardio, it passes the time. I've got to be training now 37 years or more, and I still see new exercises being invented every day that I've never seen before.
It's nice. There's a bit of some modification.
With someone who's doing it, and they've got their phone and they're like, thinking, I wonder what program they're looking at or who they're trying to copy on their phone because they're looking at their phone and that. And that's another thing I'd get in trouble for because I'd always talk about, when it comes to the general person, yes, phones are good in the gym, I guess, if you want, but I'll get into arguments with bodybuilders because I'd always say, well, back in my day, sound like an old man, back in my day, we never had phones. So you go to the gym and you train, you'd be focused on what you're doing. I'd say you shouldn't have a phone in the gym, but people go, like, well, I want to listen to music. I'm like, there's music in the gym. You just go train. You don't need. I used to go to the gym and I'd love to just go train and lift weights and get a pump or see how heavy I could go. It wasn't like I had to go, I'm squatting now 6 plates. Hold on, let me find the fucking right song to get motivated here. Put the big ear warmer headphones on. Oh, no, there's the beat. I can go squat now. It's like, if you need that type of motivation, Jesus, come on. You should just be able to go in there and do it. I trained at World Gym where, Joe Gold and Arnold were there every day. And I'd always be joking with Arnold and stuff. And there was no music for 8 years, no music at all. And, I said one of the best times I had with Arnold was when I did, he redid his encyclopedia of bodybuilding book. And he asked me to do the photos in it. So I was there one day at the gym and we're doing the photos. It was preacher curls I was doing. I'm just starting to do the preacher curl. And Arnold's like, stop. Told the photographer to stop and he comes over and he starts rubbing oil on my arms. Go ahead. So I go ahead. I'm doing like, stop. I'm like, what? He comes over, he's got the towel and he's wiping sweat off my head. I said to the photographer, I said, look, fuck the training shots. I said, every time Arnold rubs oil on me or wipes my sweat off, I said, get me photos of that. That's the photos I want. I said, oh, Arnold being a little bitch. Look at him wiping sweat off me.
He would have. What an experience that year. Like, I think you had that was that perfect time for the industry as well. Like, I think where it was like real, like they say it's the golden era for a reason, right? I think it was that transition where you had Arnold, like really, Arnold floating around in those.
Lou was in there a bit too. Lou Friedman was in the gym every day, and I trained with like Tom Platz for almost a year and stuff, and he was crazy. He was a fun guy, Tom Platz. But you had all those older type guys from that era who were respectful and stuff, and that's one thing I sort of missed today is like back then, even like when I started here in the gym, like you said earlier, if you see the bigger guy in the gym, you could ask him questions on how to train and this sort of stuff, and he'd help you ask for a spot. Or people like Arnold you could talk to, had that like camaraderie in the gym and stuff where even back, because now gyms are more of a chain, but yet those privately owned gyms when I was trained, like the guy that owned the gym would work at the gym and stuff like that. Every month or so they might have a gym get together, a barbecue, people would get together so you knew each other, where sadly now gyms just seem like you walk into a gym and if you're bigger than somebody there, it's all these itchiness going on. They can look at him, fucking steroids, fucking this. So that's like, I don't get that because everyone's just there to better themselves, whether it be build muscle, lose weight, just feel healthy. And I go into some gyms sometimes, I see these young kids, you can tell they want to be bodybuilders and that because I've seen them on Facebook, whatever. I walk in, I go, fucking Lee Priest, look at him, fucking steroids. I'm thinking, why do you hate somebody for being where you want to get to? It's like, rather than come over and maybe ask me something or I could help you do something, it's like, I think the last time I helped somebody was this guy was doing, a young kid who was on an incline bench Like he's only coming like down to here with 3 plates. I'm like, well. And so I just went over politely after he says, maybe if you go a bit lighter, just bring it all the way down, you'd get better, whatever. This is how Ronnie Coleman fucking does it. I'm like, oh, fuck, okay, well, fucking go back to doing how you're doing it. So I'm just like, that's the thing. I don't think there's that sort of, in the gym, I don't know if it's more bitchiness or nastiness, but like,
I think it's more respect your elders. I think it was like the respect your elders culture with gym a lot. If there was the guy who was, I think you're right. Like there was definitely that about 10. I think that era was very much like I said. I'm about 10, 11 years. I started training, and that was around the same sort of culture. It was the guy it's sort of like the big guy had been training a long time in the gym. I mean, by default, he had to have been training a long time because it just takes so much. It's a very much a marathon sport, isn't it? Like it takes to build appreciable amounts of mass. It's just a long game.
I get told they could build it overnight. One guy would say, "How big are your arms?" I'm like, at the time they were like 22 inches, and he's like, he goes, "How long did it take to get them?" I'm like, "Oh, been training like 18 years now. I could get that in 1 year." I'm like, "Oh, we'll go right ahead." It's like, people don't. It's like I said, it's all about. Like you said, just you got to do it for years and years and years, and it's got to be consistently years and years and years. And as you said, bodybuilding or weight training or any type of fitness, there is no off season. It's like you got to keep training because you can build muscle and build strength, but you take a couple of months off and do nothing at all, it goes pretty quick type thing. So, and you got to try and build it all back. So you're always constantly training and stuff. So people, I don't know, in their minds, I think, as we said before, they look for a quick way. They don't realize the commitment you have to put into it. That's why if you're going to commit to it, enjoy it and make it fun. I said, as soon as you start making it a chore and start hating it, or you start, I think too, people overthink it where it comes to training, where it comes to dieting, because I've always said bodybuilding really, when you look at it, and eating, if you want to bulk up and eat higher calorie foods, whatever they are, or you want to eat cleaner foods, it's pretty basic, really, when you look at it. So it's like the people trying, like I said, overthink it, or there's too much information. They'll look at one side and go, okay, if it's a girl, she goes, well, this girl does it this way. Hold on. This other fitness girl, she does it this way. And then it's this. And I was like, you're just getting bombarded with so much info. Then you just, like I said, you just go crazy. Then you don't know what to do. Like, should I have this now or should I have that? Or maybe I won't eat enough. And sadly, when I used to help even ladies do diets, when I'd say, look, before I even do anything, I said, for the next week, just write down everything you have. Everything you put in your mouth, write down. Or maybe not everything, but everything food-wise you put in your mouth, write down. So it's like, but I'd write it down, then I'd be like, you're not eating enough. It's like, it could be like a cup of coffee and a piece of toast, then a salad. And they don't realize that even if you're not eating enough, your metabolism's going to slow down, so you won't burn body fat, But so that's why when you sometimes, once I've seen what they're eating and they go, okay, here's 5 smaller meals or 6 smaller meals, they automatically go, oh my God, that's too much food. I can't eat all that. But once they do the cardio and training and start eating it, the metabolism speeds up, the body just starts eating it like fuel throwing wood on a fire. So that's the sad thing. I think there's so many misconceptions out there where girls try and starve themselves or go crazy to lose weight. And they're like, well, why aren't I losing weight? I see some girls go to the gym for a year and I mean, they're busting their ass doing cardio and training, but they're still got that flabby thing like that. And yet I'll see stuff where they might post a clean meal on their thing. I'm like, well, they're probably just not eating enough, but yet in their mind, they think they are because I'm having this big salad and stuff, but yet the amount of calories you're burning off and stuff, you're just not feeding your body enough, and your body goes into that, I don't know, like defense mode. If you're not eating enough food, your body's going to try and hold on to the fat, but just to protect itself. So it's just...
I think that's a big part. The undereating is a huge part. The undereating is something that I come across a lot in. I'll be at seminars doing talks around the sort of space, and I guess when you sort of just break it down to people, that one of the biggest sources of stress in your body is the undereating part, right? And I think that's an area that I think people don't really appreciate, that demands when not just the hour that you're in the gym or if they're doing the cardio, but then also the time afterwards to rebuild what you've torn down, or even if you're trying to maintain, just to let you send the right signals to your body to do it, And I think that's probably an area that I think at least having more, that's one thing that social media has probably started doing is putting a bit of awareness around. Now they can access it easier. It used to be you had to ask the big guy at the gym, you literally had to ask one-on-one, all right, what do you do with food? And then you'd be like, oh, well, I'm eating
a liter of milk, a loaf of bread, 6 steaks, and you're like, what?
Well, you saw, but talking of, you mentioned health before, right? I want to ask this one because this is a bit of an interesting area. I think you were around in a transition era with physiques, right? There was definitely a very big transition, and particularly probably around the Dorian era where it transitioned to like the whole mass monster phase. And you would say that you got up around the late 200-pound mark, which at 5'5" is monster of a human being. If you're 135, 5'5", you're massive, right? So in terms of health, did you see what was your attitude towards bodybuilding, I suppose, as you saw that transition era of having to get bigger and bigger each year, more and more drugs, more and more food? Where do you think the word health fits in with bodybuilding now? And I suppose even and then as well as you're competing?
Well, it's hard to say because, like I said, when I did like I said, as far as my dieting goes, when I got ready for a show and the cardio and that, I was probably pretty healthy. Yes, I took the steroids leading up to shows mainly just to hold on to the size and recovery. I only used small amounts, but then it's like, okay, even if I took 400, and I know people are taking 1,500, is 400 okay, it sounds a lot less, but is it any less harmful to my body? I don't know. In my mind, I'm probably thinking, it can't be as bad. It can't be as much stress on the body as someone taking that. It's like I would take one Enadrol tablet a day, and because they were pretty toxic, those tablets, you get super strong, keep me nice and full, and I'll be super strong and make my stomach feel bad. But I only took one a day. I had a friend that took 6 a day and he was urinating blood. It's like, well, maybe you're taking too many. So it's like when you say health, I think overall the basic and the premise of bodybuilding is healthy if you just had the training side and that. But then even if you took drugs out of it, really the amount of food you eat, is that really healthy sometimes? The amount of food that we push into our bodies, even if it's clean food sometimes 6 times, 7 times a day, do we really know how much protein we really need? I know we have, like some people say, this many grams per pound of body weight or this and that, or ounces here in Australia. Do we really know? Because I don't think anyone's ever really done a study when it comes to bodybuilders, which is a shame because when you look at any sport around the world, bodybuilding, weightlifting type of thing is the basic of it all. Yes, bodybuilders, we take it to the extreme, and powerlifters take it to the extreme, but all sports have some sort of weight training. The nutrition's sort of the same, because I'm sure you've seen it when a lot of these celebrity type gurus come out with, they got a new cookbook or diet book and this and that. A lot of it's basic like bodybuilding, similar diets, really. When you look at all of them, pretty much the same as what people in the fitness industry have been doing for years and years and years. And they come out like, this is a great new thing, lower carbs, higher protein, or the keto type thing. Like, bodybuilders have been doing that since the day dot. So it would be good if this could be a way to get a couple 100,000 from the government. I'll go ask for a grant and study bodybuilders. Even when it comes to the steroid type of thing, you go to some doctors and they'll never prescribe them to you. Oh, no, you can't take that. Whereas they should have monitored these guys from the day Arnold's era, maybe all the way through, and could learn what certain drugs do. Because we all know steroids are given, they were given to age patients at the time and people with muscle wasting and stuff. So they can be used for good. But as I said, to what limit the bodybuilders pushing? And we know, sadly, bodybuilders push that limit because it's that mentality. 2 worked well, 4 worked twice as good.
4 must work better. Yeah. It's such a misunderstood area.
It doesn't work like that. It's just the mentality of people. They want to try and get there quicker, thinking it will work. And it's like a marathon. It's not a sprint, as you said. You're not going to build muscle overnight. And sadly, this is what I tell people, and they sometimes hate me when they ask me. I get people send me photos and this and that. I want to be a pro and this and that. I look at the pictures and I'm just like, it's never going to happen. And I sometimes, in a nice way, I'll tell them, I say, look, don't let that discourage you. You can still go to the gym to build up your strength, build up your fitness. You might build some muscle, but you're never going to be a pro bodybuilder. You might be a good, maybe just a state level bodybuilder, or you might make a good national bodybuilder. But when you're talking about going pro, that's a whole nother level. And then once you are pro, to be in that top pro lineup, you're talking about a top 1%. Say you look at, like runners around the world, sprinters. I'm sure if we went around the whole world, there's probably hundreds of thousands of men and women who are super fast and can sprint. But to be a Carl Lewis or Usain Bolt, you're talking about the top 1% of people who are just have everything's in place, genetics, the mindset, everything. And it's like that in any sport. But that's why these young kids like, I want to be a pro bodybuilder, whatever. It's like, how about you just start small? And I always tell them, I say, listen, if bodybuilding is what you want to do, or probably any sport, tennis, golf, whatever field you want to be in, if you give it 100%, like say bodybuilding, you give the training 100%, the nutrition 100%, making sure you get your rest and you have your mindset right. If you have the genetics, it will happen. It's like with me when I started training. You just see those people in the gym, they can even skip meals. They just pick up weights and they just start growing muscle. People are like, he's got to look at him. No, it's just a genetic makeup. It's like some people can get a soccer ball and kick it around like, a professional soccer player doing all the tricks. I get and I trip over in no time. It's like people are just gifted for something, whether it be business, whatever field it is, people can just pick it up instantly because that's the way their mind is or their body is. So, it doesn't mean you can't do it still, but yet, you just probably, no matter, you can give these people all the drugs in the world, you can give them the best trainer in the world, the best nutrition in the world, but you're not going to be a pro bodybuilder. And sadly, I see so many guys who have wasted like their lives almost, relationships. They're like, I've seen people like give up jobs to be a pro bodybuilder, and 10 years later, they're still abusing the drugs. They're still not a pro bodybuilder. So it's, you've got to be a realist with yourself. Yeah, we all have a dream and, we want to try and live that dream out, but you got to get to a point in your life where if it's not going to happen, why keep punishing yourself and doing probably harm to your body because you're forcing all these drugs into food and it ain't never going to happen. So, so it's like that in anything really. But I think that's what I said. If you find something that you love, go for it. Yes, it could be bodybuilding, but then once you've pushed it for so long, if it's not happening, try and, if you've been doing it that long and you can't become a pro bodybuilder, like I said, maybe go off into personal training, into some other fitness type avenue that you could, because like I said, today, there are so many avenues you can go to with the internet, with Instagram, whether it be supplements, training people, nutrition, maybe something in the professional line where you could be getting to the like rehab side of things or just helping people. There's so many things, or coaches, strength coaches in different teams and stuff. There's so many things you can do. So to just put our eggs in one basket, where I've seen it before, where I've got to be a pro bodybuilder and nothing else. I had a guy write to me once years ago, because in his 5th year of wanting to be a doctor and his family wanted to be a doctor, his mum and dad were doctors, but his dream was to be a pro bodybuilder. And I said, well, send me your pictures and I'll have a look. He sent them to me and I'm like, it's like, how would I describe him? It's like more like a swimmer's type physique.
Yeah.
He's been training for years and years. I'm like, look, I said, if I'm honest with you, you might do good at a local show, so don't give up training. And he goes, what about being a pro? I said, look, I've been in this sport for so long and I've seen what pros look like. And you can tell if someone's going to be a pro and that. And, the amount of time he told me he'd been training and this and that, he's used a bit of gear. I said, look, you're not going to be a pro bodybuilder. Well, fuck you. And he went off. It's like, I'm just being honest with you. I said, why can't you in your 5th year of being a doctor, finish being a doctor? I said, you can become a doctor, a surgeon, make all that money. It doesn't mean you can't stop going to the gym. You can be the best built doctor in the hospital. You can be, you can still just, but because I told him I was going to be a pro bodybuilder, I'll show you and blah. He's never reacted to me, so I don't know whatever happened to him. But
look, it's a cruel reality to the sport is that there is a massive genetic element to it, and I guess it's probably one of the few areas in life where blunt force work ethic just doesn't unfortunately apply. Like there is a limitation, and we are fortunate now that the industry's grown because of all that attention in socials and just the sheer number of people now who have started coming, who now train, who look after their health. And I think with all the bullshit going on in the last few months, 2 years now, with everything going on globally, that time warp, I think people are finally starting to realise, hey, look, it is actually my best interest to be in shape, to not be overweight, to not be, have insulin resistance, to not have metabolic diseases, to not have lifestyle diseases, to not be sedentary and not eat junk food and not completely neglect my health. And I think that's bringing with it a bit of a new wave. Like remember at the very beginning of it all, the first stuff that was coming out on TV was government saying, make sure basically the stuff that we've been doing for years, eat healthy, eat fruit and veg, go exercise, walk daily, and all. And I was like, this is the first time the government in my 30 years on this planet has actually said, just do basic principles of health. That's the first time I've heard it, and I'm in my 30s. I'm like, this is a sad fact that it took this stuff. Admittedly, that then later on disappeared, and now it's all about other stupid stuff. But it was the first time I ever heard the government actually say to Gen Pop people, look after your health, right? And I think we've seen it's flown on a little bit now. We're starting to see our industry really get the attention I think it should have had.
Big pharma caught up the government and said, hey, shut up with that shit. We need sick people to make billions of dollars. Shut the fuck up telling people to get healthy here. That's the conspiracy side, because I've always thought it'd be great if people could get out, get healthy, and the government could push it more type thing. It's almost like, because my wife, she manages a tobacco shop, so it's like I always laugh because people will go and smoke and that, we know what, smoking does. I guess it's like anything though. A lot of people are going to get cancer from it or other illnesses, breathing, lungs, whatever, emphysema, whatever smoking brings. And the government knows that. It's like, you don't know what this virus is doing to people, killing people, and they're in this panic about it. But for how long do they know what cigarettes do to people, the cancers they cause and everything, but yet they still sell them because the almighty dollar is peddling. It's like how many times that commercial came on again the other day where the guy's sitting in his window in his chair,
yeah,
and the kids are outside playing, and it's like, don't smoke, paid for by the government. I'm like, here you are putting commercials out saying don't smoke, but yet you're selling these things that kill people, cause all these cancers, because you're making the tax dollars from it. It's like, don't give us that shit. And even alcohol and stuff like that. It's like, it's almost like this two-faced type thing where we'll sell you these drugs legally because, tobacco, it's legal and stuff. But yet, if you brought out a protein powder and it had the same effects that cigarettes do, it'd be off the market. It'd be taken off the market the next day. Like I said,
it would.
Drinking it, like I got lung cancer from your thing, or I got liver cancer from the protein powder, and people start getting all these problems. I mean, you'd be sued, the company would be destroyed. It's like,
imagine it. But that's a good thing to say. But I think that's like, we're lucky here in Australia that we're fortunate enough that we've got, and you're lucky enough to have a big part of your career both in the States and obviously here, being a Newcastle lad originally. So you've seen both the Australian supplement industry and the American one up close and personal. And I think ours, whilst you've had your own supplement line, it's frustrating trying to formulate within our rules are so stringent. It's nearly impossible to put out something that actually works within the guidelines. But I would rather that we've got some of the most, like, if you're making a product in Australia and it's actually compliant, then the chances are it's probably the best quality you could hope for, because it's gone through such rigmarole to get to the market, right? And I think I'd be sort of I think I'd do my guys a disjustice, my listeners who would be wanting to know. We are the Wot Supp podcast. We are a big part of us is supplementation, and I think a lot of our listeners would be really interested to see someone who's been right to the very top level, with competing. What part of your career did supplements, take? What were some of your regular staples you used? What do you still use? And where do they fit into where you saw dieting and training and exercising? Where do they sort of fit in for you?
Well, in the beginning, when I first started using it, was just the Weeder or Victory brand, because actually I got sponsored by Nutrilife, and they were like selling the Weeder Victory brand. So when I was 17, I used to be in the Victory ads in the magazines here, like Muscle Builder magazines for Victory supplements. So I tried the old Weeder Mega Mass 4000s and 5,000, like drinking mud. But as far as like tablets went, we used to have the old liver 10,000 tablets. You take like so many of these because it's like good for the nitrogen in the blood and stuff like that. So the basic, like the horse pills. And I was actually sponsored by Masashi even when I was 18 in Australia, and Beverly International. I'm not sure if Beverly International is still around, but they were like one of the original companies back in the day. And like, it was always generally a protein powder no matter what, just because sometimes when I was working, when I was younger, I didn't have time to eat a meal, so I could have a protein drink and a banana or something. Just something to, after I finished training, a protein drink. That's just easier to grab. And later on, I tried the creatine and that, but I was like, well, makes me a bit puffy and stuff. I much preferred the glutamine for recovery, after training and before bed, and a protein drink. Sometimes I'll take the intra-workout type BCAAs, which are good, but to me, for some reason, when I'm training, I just prefer to taste the water. Well, it hasn't really got taste. I just prefer water. If I'm drinking anything flavored for some reason when I'm training, because it's a bit sweet, it just makes me. I could have a liter bottle if it's got the aminos in. I probably wouldn't even drink half of it. But yet, if I just got water, I'll probably drink 3 to 4 liters during a workout. But for some reason, if it's flavored, I don't drink it. So I just rather the water. Yep. Yeah, but I drink. But most of my supplementation, I probably take more when I was restricting my calories dieting.
Yeah.
But during the off season, I preferred to get it more from food. Yes, I'd have like maybe glutamine and maybe some aminos and a protein type based, drink. But as far as all the other stuff goes, it was more around dieting time, wherever, I take L-carnitine and all the other stuff like that. I still, every day now, take like sports multi and fish oils and stuff like that, and, garlic and vitamin C, because you hope that helps. But even then, sometimes I think, I have like these sometimes 20 pills in the morning, and then some say take twice. I'm like, fuck, I'm only going to take it once a day. It's like, I'm not thinking, is this really doing anything? I often wonder, because like how many, I might say take 2 a day, but in 2 of them is, might not be anywhere near enough of what your body really needs. It'd be interesting to see, like, go to get your blood work done after you've been taking these for months, and I want to know what my vitamin levels are in my blood of all this shit I've been taking. I've got to go, you're deficient in vitamin D, but I take 10 a day. How the fuck do I be deficient?
That's an interesting one, because we're lucky in that something that was why I was curious as to where it played into your career in the early days, where it literally would have just been wheat protein powders and I suppose
I was never really into pre-work. I was always sensitive to that type of stuff. Sometimes if there's pre-workouts that aren't crazy, like back in the day when they first came out, you could buy a Fedra over the counter and stuff like that. So I was walking around fucking shaking like this, and like when I get, it's funny too, because even at World Gym, who was it? Like, it could have been BPX or someone brought out one of them, but it was so strong that I only take half of it. Because if I was in the gym and I was training over people like, hi, I'm like, hi, just go back to training. The days I took that, they'd be, hi, Lee, hi, how you going? Did you teach such and such? And they're like, well, he's taking a pre-workout, he won't shut up. Just give up and talk type thing. So I never really liked that feeling. Whereas I see young kids now come to the gym, they'll take it and they sit down and wait, or they've got to wait 20 minutes for it to kick in. I'm just like, you know what? And then sadly, I don't know how they do it, but some of these people take it after work, so they get to the gym at 4 or 5 o'clock, taking this pre-workout. I'm thinking, well, you're still going to bed at night. Your body's meant to be relaxing, even though you might not feel wired. Your adrenal glands and all that sort of stuff still fucking up in there and going crazy. It's like you're not getting the rest your body needs type thing. So maybe if you're going to train at 4 and you're still at work, take your pre-workout at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock. I've never really been into the pre-workout type thing. To me, my grandfather and I still do it today. Sometimes if I want to pick me up, I'm still the old Barocca Performance, the little tablet in water. It's like, maybe it doesn't do anything. It makes my piss bright and yellow because there's like so many vitamins in it. But I've never been crazy. There are some like more, like I said, I know Dave with his company, Species. He has one now, a stimulant one, but it's more and like more for the brain type thing. So it's not like one where you go crazy. It's just more of a focus and all that sort of stuff. Where I prefer those type rather than, like I said, when you start getting the old one that makes you tingly and hot and you go red. And some used to have back in the day would have niacin in it, so you just get this flush of lime. Yeah, so I just don't like that creepy feeling where it feels like you got stuff moving. But some people love that. And then I know guys that would take one scoop. Was it hydroxy cuts or one of those?
That was a throwback.
I knew guys that ended up taking, because they take one scoop for them to get used to it, and after a while they're on like 4 scoops and that sort of thing. And I just figure these young kids now, I can see why sometimes when they go to these raves, some are dropping dead because they'll be taking them and they're probably popping pills and MDMA and drinking and stuff. But it's just that whole, I know people take the pre-workouts, but then they drink a Red Bull or Monster drink and they're just thinking the old heart's just pounding away and shit like that. I remember getting ready for shows back in the day where I take a little bit of clenbuterol, and even that would like you get cramps in your hands and your heart would be pounding. I remember sitting there one day just watching TV. I'm like, oh, fucking neighbours playing the drums. It like sounds pretty loud. And I'm sitting there a bit longer. I'm like, wait a minute, my fucking heart. Like, come on. I was like, shit, started hitting your heart in your head. I'm like, oh, fucking hell, my heart's pounding. Yeah, so I was like, I never got into this. I just don't like anything weird like that.
I think what we're sort of lucky now that we've had as the different categories of people have come to the supplement industry. We've also had supplements that have like you said, and I guess anyone listening who Lee is referring to is Dave Palumbo's got a brand with Species Nutrition that'll probably be coming to Australia more than likely in the near future. And I suppose where he's saying things that are more about mood and focus is the area of nootropics are becoming a much bigger area in the supplement industry, like things that people can just use to be more productive at work, to be more switched on doing admin or studying or gaming or just doing life right. And I think supplementation for just general life is an area that and now we've got things like super greens and greens products and like gut health products and things for digestive enzymes, and hormonal products, adrenal products. Like we've got a lot more bigger picture, holistic subs that are pretty interesting.
Sleep ones too are a big one. I always try because I never had anxiety for a long time, but the last few weeks I had anxiety. I went to the hospital twice because I was having a heart attack. I just got anxiety. I'm like, getting to 50 years old, my world's falling apart all of a sudden. But Yeah, it's like I tried all the, Valerian Ford and all this sort of stuff. And I know Gaspari's got a new sleep one out. So I'm always trying to find, I never have a problem sleeping. It's always, I don't know, a lot of people who train do, it's almost falling to sleep. It's like you can sit and watch TV in a chair and you're not really thinking about shit. You're just watching TV, a movie, you doze off. I'm like, I should go to bed. But as soon as I lay in bed, it's like, boom, the brain starts going. It's like, things you start thinking about shit. I'm like, oh, fuck, no, I can't fall asleep. I could get back up and watch TV again. So I know there are some companies out there that are bringing out natural ones to even help people sleep and stuff. So I'm always looking out for a real good one when it comes to sleep and that. Because I always prefer natural things first. I always say, okay, look, I know some people have to. I know with my anxiety, I went to the doctor. He gave me that Seroquel 25 milligrams. That helped me sleep. And I know it's not addictive and stuff, but I'd still prefer, if I can, to go the natural route before I go prescription. To me, that's like the last resort. I don't know why. I just figure I'm taking prescription now. It's like, oh, whatever. It's almost like, I know it's not bad, but, just for some reason, going to the doctor. I remember because of my sponsor, I had to travel still during the whole virus thing. So early on, I got the vaccines, and because I wasn't against it, but I'm just like, shouldn't be made to it, but yet to travel overseas, I had no choice to go in the country. So they messed up. Even back then, this would have been early May. I had like an AstraZeneca, and then they gave me a Pfizer, then AstraZeneca. It's already had 3 shots way back then. So when I went to get it, asked about a booster not long ago, like, oh, we're not sure. We already had 3 back then. We've never given a 4th. We don't know what a 4th might do to you. So they haven't got back to me on that. But it's so funny because I had fans of mine. I can't believe you're a sellout. I said, look, it's my job to kind of go overseas for my sponsors. They pay me. And then I'm like, do you really think I give a shit? I said, how long have I been bodybuilding for? When I lived in LA, my mate used to go say, look, I need some testo, I need some Deca. He'd go get it for me. I don't know where this shit comes from. I don't know where it's made. It could be made in someone's bathtub in Mexico. I said, I've been injecting shit into my body that I wouldn't have a clue where it's come from or how clean it is. So I said, I always laugh when these bodybuilders go, I'll never take a vaccine, but yet they're sitting there every fucking week injecting oils and shit. I'm like, what's in that? I said, how do you know that's test? It says it on the bottle. I'm like, oh, fuck, no one can print a label up and just put testosterone. I said, you don't know what's in it. It could be anything. So when people are going about the vaccine, I can't believe you took that and you put that in your body. I said, shit, I lived in LA. I drank the water in LA. It's probably worse than what the vaccine was. So,
mate, I think
I breathed air in LA. So people like,
you've touched on the special subs a few times with steroids too, and I think like I almost want to get you on for a part 2 just about that, as someone who's both used, seen abused, and then seen other people abused that had and been someone who's been vocal about it since the start. Like there really weren't many people talking about it, which I think did a disservice to a lot of young people because they're going to use it anyway, but no one knows. They don't understand the chemistry of it. Like they're running a very powerful science experiment, and no one knows how the compounds work. Like if they're DHT derivatives, if they're going to increase prolactin, whether they're increasing free testosterone total test, if they're going to get bound up, convert, how to handle side effects, how to handle like all this area. It's a lot more complex than people quite give it, and I think, but it gets because no one talks about it openly.
That's why I was always open from the beginning. I think if you go on YouTube, have you seen those videos I did with Tom Platz? Look at Lee Priest. I don't know what it's under. It could be Lee Priest, Tom Platz, steroids or something. You'll find it, but yet there was, I think, 7 or 8 of us. Really, there was Ronnie Coleman, Chris Cormier, Matarazzo, and they're just talking about their steroid cycles. But what Tom did, he just blacked their face out, distorted the voice. But when I come on, I said, look, Tom, I don't give a shit. I said, I'm the only one on the whole. It's like he did like a VHS for the young kids. That used to be like these cassettes that you put into a machine and you'd watch before DVDs. It was like a series of these steroid things where pros talked about it. And I was the only one that didn't hide my face or voice. I said, look, yes, you might not like me talking about it, but it happens. And I'm like you. I said, if you're going to do it, like when I was younger and my mum gave me a talk about sex and shit, like, look, I know you're going to do it at some point. So if you're going to do it, I'd rather you do it safely, use protection, blah, blah, blah. So it's the same thing with steroids. And this is what annoyed me when I get caught a lie, because I'm someone that's been there and done it with small amounts. And yet that's why I helped a guy here in Australia years ago, 2013, get ready for the Worlds. And Graham Lansfield from NABA asked me to help him. I'm sure Jake doesn't mind me mentioning his name because we talk about it. And he said, I gave him his diet and his training program. It's like, Lee, what about the subs? I said, yeah, steroids. He goes, yeah. I said, look, Jake, I said, I'm no doctor, I'm no chemist. I said, I know what's worked for me. I can show you what I've done and the amounts I've used. I can give you that to try. So I sent it to him. Within 10 minutes, he emails me back. Are you fucking with me? I'm like, why? He goes, there's no growth. That's not enough. I said, what do you mean? I said, Jake, I said, you trust me with your diet and training. Trust me with this. He's like, okay. So he did the diet training, took a little bit that I told him to. He went over there and he won the worlds. He goes, Lee, that's the best I've ever looked and the best I've ever felt. I said, that's right. I said, you don't need these large amounts. You know, when I ask these people, kids sometimes, why are you taking that? Oh, it says online that such and such, and you got to. I said, you don't need this amount. I said, listen, if you're taking 800 a test and something, because I said, come off now for a couple of months. I bet if you go back on and just take 300 a test and 200 of the other, and you eat and train, you'll get the same results. I guarantee it. And another time, I told the story once. There was this guy at the gym. He wanted to go on gear, and he was like, yeah, he'd come to the gym. You'd see him come in now and then. I said, what have you been eating today? Oh, I've eaten a lot today. I had a foot-long Subway, and then I'm like, oh, that's a lot. You went all out. So it's like his eating was shit. His training was, nah, whatever. And like for months, he pestered me, Lee, can you get me something? I said, no, I can't. I said, oh. Then a couple of months later, I said, you know what? You're lucky. I said, look, I had a bottle of Banabol I never used. You can have it if you want. It'll make you strong in that. I said, I'll just give it to you. He's like, okay. So I gave it to him. I said, okay, but now what you got to do is, because you're on the gear, don't waste it. You got to train at least 5 times a week. And here's a meal plan. I want you to eat this. He's like, okay, I'll follow that. So he starts taking it within like a couple of weeks. I'll leave. My bench is going up. I'm getting stronger. You can actually see him like he's getting better because he's eating now. So he's filling out a bit. Before he was under eating. And after like 2 months, he's like looking good. He's like, oh, yeah, but he's getting shape everywhere. I said, you almost down? He goes, yeah. I said, the last couple you got, I said, when you put them in your mouth, chew them. He goes, why? He goes, ah. I said, chew them. He chews them. He goes, oh, fuck this, sweet. Look, I just gave him fucking little saccharin tablets. Like, no, and when I told him, he's like, you fucking asshole. I said, but look, I said, this just proves all I did was give you proper fucking training where you're regimented coming to the gym every fucking day. You followed this eating plan, and because you thought you're taking Dianabol, look, your fucking strength's going up, you look better, and that was just from eating and training. And the majority of people who want to take drugs, really, if they first just concentrated on their training and eating and were consistent with that, they would make good gains. They would look a lot better than, you know, because I see so many guys who they eat shit, they train shit, they go on gear, and when they're on the gear, they eat 6 times a day. They're training every day. And then when they come off the gear, they stop eating properly. They stop training. They go, oh, look, I've lost it all. I'm like, how the fuck do you lose it all? I said, if you came off, keep eating, keep training. You wouldn't lose anything. Like people say to me now, well, what am I? I said, I'm not anything. Yes, I'm off the gear, but I still go to the gym every day. I still eat. So why would I lose the muscle as long as I'm still using it, you know, as much as I can? So, yeah, as I said, it's all in the mind half the time. These people think that, like I said, this magic thing's going to happen. But yeah, I can guarantee any guy at the gym now sometimes who's thinking about gear, if they just focused on their training more and their nutrition more and got that down, they could make good gains just from that alone before they even decide to use gear. And I'd always tell people anyway, before you even decided to use it, at least 5 years, I say minimum, 5 to 7 of natural training. I said, because if you're young and you're like 16, 17, sadly now where kids want to use it, or 18, I said, if you start taking it at 18 or whatever, you'll never know what your potential was. Me, I was different because I started training at 13, winning shows. So by the time I got to 19, I already had all those years of training. But if you're starting at 16 and by 18 you say, I want to take gear, why? I said, your testosterone's still high at 18. You can still make so many more gains naturally before you need. I said, try and go as far as you can. And then I said, I always say to people, only take it to if bodybuilding is something you want to do. I'm not into this, I want to take it to look good for music festivals and shit like that. If you want to look good for a music festival, you can just eat a good diet and train and have abs and look good. I said, because I wanted to go to the gym, like Van Damme would come into the gym and stuff, and you see Van Damme in the movies, or Stallone would come in, and like, oh, fuck, he's muscular and big. But in person, fucking small as, but because they're lean and cut, they look a lot bigger. So, you know, there's people who just want to take it to look. I've got friends that would, I say, what are you on it for? I mean, I've had friends that have been taking it for years and never come off. I say, why? Like, oh, I just want to feel big and walk around looking big. I'm like, I don't get that mentality. It's like, why, what? Who cares? Do you think people are looking at you going, oh, he's big and shit? So it's just like, you'd start dieting, you'd come off it. I'd say, go on a diet. And as soon as your diet and his T-shirt got loose, fucking lose it mentally, and then fucking just start eating it. I can't do it. My T-shirt got too loose. I felt small. I said, look at the photos of when you were a bit younger. you look better small. It's like, it's like the waist is smaller, so your shoulders look bigger. It's like me. Look at me when I was those bulked up pictures where I'm 270, 275, 280.
Oh.
In the photo beside, I'll be doing the same pose, like hands together type thing. In the bulked up photo, I just look big, full, and fat. And now I'm weighing 210, the photo beside it. At 210, I look twice as big as when I'm 275, 280. It's all an illusion. So don't worry about the weights when they say they want to be a certain weight. When people come up, I've had it before. What do you weigh, Lee? I'll be like, 110 kilos. I'm 140. I'm like, yeah, but you're fat and look like difference.
It's a hard sport. It's a hard sport for that because it is at the end of the day. It's got some subjective.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's opinion based as well, but it's also got some hard truths to it. But that's a big one, right? It is, I suppose, and I think the more that I see, that's what I've noticed as well, like how different a physique acts. Because I took a lot of interest in, I suppose, the chemistry behind how it all works, how your body, it receives things, whether it's gear, whether it's nutrition, whether it's protein, how it responds to carbohydrates, how it responds to protein. At 25% body fat versus at 10%, and it's a different animal altogether. When you're 10% body fat, you've got visible abs, and you throw in some carbs, and your veins go nuts, and you can feel it. You can physically feel the glycogen filling up, and then if you're at 25% body fat, you throw in the same meal, and you just feel tired and sleepy, and you're just holding water. And so there's a very real, I suppose, different part there, isn't it?
The thing is, too, everyone's different. That's the thing I try and tell people. Is people say to me, "Lee, what do you eat? How do you train?" And I could say, look, this is what I eat, this is how I train, but that might not work for you. If I gave you my exact diet that I use for a contest and you do it, you're not going to look like me. Because like I said, everyone's body takes carbs and proteins different, fats different. Where I know people who are much better on lower carbs, higher fats. Me, I'm better on higher carbs. The fat I'd get from my diet would just be from the fat in the meat. I never added peanut butter, avocado. I never added any type of oils or fats. The fat I got in my body was just from the food I was eating. So I said, everyone's different. So you've got to find what works for you. I always tell people, you can get a roughly base, pick a diet roughly as a base to start with. But then, as you go along, you just have to make subtle changes, whether it be add fat, take fat out, add more protein, add less protein, carbs. And everyone's, like I said, I think everyone tries to look for that one size fits all. But in this type of thing, even when it comes to training, and someone said to me, what do I do for arms? I say, look, I love barbell curl as the main one, and I do dumbbell curls. But if you and I are trained together and I say, look, barbell curls for me is the best one ever, you do it, you'd be like, I feel it, but I prefer preacher. See, so like you got to find what works for you. Everyone's body's made different. Our leverage points are different, and muscle bellies are different. So, sometimes people try and find like, well, he does this, I'm going to do it. It's almost like even with sometimes poses where I do a pose with my arms up and shit, people go, oh, I love that pose, and they do it. It's like, okay, look, it looks good on him, but you shouldn't do it. So it's like, if anything, you got to find what works for you. And like I said, use things as a base, but then don't be like, well, he does it, I'm going to do it the exact same way. Because, like I said, I like squatting. Some people can't squat; they get better results from leg press. So you got to find what works for you, whether it be training wise, diet wise, anything. Like I said, when I took supplements, I could take a supplement, I didn't really like it, but yet my mate could be like, wow, I think when they first came out, like all those volumizing type things, you could get a great pump and all that sort of thing. They came out. To me, I didn't really find much fun, but yet my mate would say, he's like, man, I get the best pumps taking this vasodilator type stuff. And I'm like, I don't really notice anything. So it's like, just got to, as I said, everybody's different and just find what works for you. Because I see it all the time where, guys do it a lot too, but girls do it a lot where I said, oh, look at a girl's Instagram and I want to look like her. Get her training program, they'll get her diet, and they'll follow it, trying to kill themselves when that's not going to work for them. So, yes, you could look at her diet and go, okay, that's what she's eating. Now let me try and manipulate it to my body and what I like. But she could be like, well, she's eating this much asparagus. I got to eat it. I hate asparagus. Fuck it. She's eating it. I'm going to eat it. So, you start doing things like that, because I always tell people too, if I do you a diet, I'm not one of those people that's going to say you have to eat this. But I don't like it. I don't care. You can eat it. It's like, it's just like, you're not going to do it. So it's like...
Well, what was your favorite diet hack you picked up from some? I mean, obviously you trained over it with Worlds and Goals in Venice. So was some of the, there was, like you said, Arnie's walking around, Friedno's walking around. The biggest names in the game really were training, came in and out of that gym. What was some of your favorite dieting hacks you got from some of these pros that and some of these big, some of the bigger name athletes in the game that you cross paths with? Is there any words of advice you picked up you really liked?
The funny thing was, in all the years I did the bodybuilding, and like I said, even Paul Dillette, when he separated from his wife, Paul come to live with me for 8 months. And the whole 8 months we lived together, we never talked bodybuilding, diet, drugs. I never discussed it with him because I was under that mindset. Okay, that's what they do. I know what works for me. So I pretty much just stuck with what worked for me. And when all those steroid handbooks come out, I never read it once, but I could have young kids, hey, such and such, it says this. I'm like, oh, I'm good for that. I don't fucking know. Because to me, even to this day, I was more about the training, the diet, the nutrition. Drugs will last, but yet what worked for me, this is what worked for me. So even if I did speak to someone about, like, yeah, sure, if we ate at like a restaurant, the Firehouse, which is near Coles, I could see like Flex Wheeler there or Chris Cormier with me eating chicken breasts and rice, and I might just have this much chicken. They could have twice the amount of chicken, but I never really thought I should eat that to look like them. I just ate what I felt like eating at the time. Maybe a day later, if I'm super hungry, I'll have an extra chicken breast and stuff. So I was very, when it came to eating, just very instinctive what worked for me, even like carb-wise. If I was training and I've like tons of energy today after training, I normally had 2 cups of rice and I only have 1 cup because I got tons of energy and stuff. So life was instinctive. And when I trained with Tom Platts, he was that way, even training wise. Nothing was really set in stone. No reps were set in stone. No exercises were set in stone. It could be like, okay, we're going to do legs today, but we get to the gym. It's like, do you feel like legs? I don't really feel like legs. Okay, we'll do back. So it's like, people think that is my program and Monday is leg day. If you get to the gym Monday and you don't feel like doing legs, to me, don't do it. Why go through the motion, have a shitty leg workout if you don't feel like doing legs? Go do chest. Pick another body part you weren't even thinking about and go do that. And then also you don't have to, I see it now even at the gym sometimes where it's like, okay, got to do dumbbell press. All the benches are busy. Oh, wait. It's like, go do something else. It's like, there's hundreds of exercises you can do for your chest. You don't have to do it in that exact order. Go do crossovers first, because that's what I would do. I'd have like maybe 5 basic exercises, where it'd be like incline dumbbell, flat dumbbell, a flat or incline fly, a crossover, and a pec deck. But if I was going to do the dumbbells first and that area is busy, I'll go start on the pec deck first. So it doesn't matter. I just change the order up in what I did them and stuff like that. So you don't have to be so, like I said, people think try and get so set in it where I've got to do it this order and they'll wait for it. Like how many sets you got? Like I've been training, like I said, 37 years or more. And to this day, I've never asked somebody that question, how many sets you got? Because if somebody's on that machine, I'll go do something else. It's like, I don't need it that urgent. I'll do something else. And to me, it was also, I found it, because I'd see it a lot at the gym. I'd have had training partners want me to go ask them. I'm like, no, let them do their set. I said, I got no preference to the machine. They'd be like, but you're getting ready for the Olympia. I said, so what? I said, they don't give a shit if I'm getting ready for the Olympia, because I'd be like, oh, it's gym. And I'd see other pros do that standover tactic, kick people off the machine. I'm like, to me, they're just being an arsehole. To me, I've always figured no matter who you are in life, we're all equal. No one's better than anybody else. Yes, I'm a pro bodybuilder. Great. You could be a number 1 plumber in your area, so I'm no better than you. Sure, we have different jobs, but it doesn't make me any better. You're a plumber, I'm a pro bodybuilder. So I always be like, if I'm at the gym and I'm getting ready for the Mr. Olympia, yes, that's important to me. But if this woman's in the gym or a guy's in the gym wanting to lose 20 pounds, that's just as important to them. I don't have a right to the machine because I'm lead priest of pro bodybuilder. They've got just as much right to the machine as I do, so why should I kick them off it? And I see so many people with that attitude, and it's all in all sports or even actors and that, they get these egos. And that's one of the things I hated the most. I guess Americans sort of sometimes get the bigger egos. I just can't stand when people get egos and think they're better than other people when you're not. Okay, even if you got millions of dollars, better than somebody who is just making minimum wage. So what, you're rich and famous, better than him, you're still human, you still do the same shit. So I just don't like that in people.
It's very much an Aussie thing, man. I think we, as just as a culture, we're just not big ego. It's just not really in our culture to do that. But I think if there was someone who probably had earned an ego in this sport, I think you'd be up there, mate. But look, I think I'd actually love to get you on for a part 2 for I think more of a deep dive in, particularly with the supplementation and maybe even going into the PED part. Because I think a lot about
people listen to this and go, we've learned fuck all. They're just really fun.
But that's the best part, though, isn't it? Because we try to we purposely make this platform so people can really dive into whatever area they want, give as much time on areas they want. Obviously, by just listening to this episode, people would go, okay, there's a huge priority on nutrition. There's a huge priority on training on there. Supplementation was briefly mentioned. So that was obviously a smaller part of the picture.
Even after this, because like I said, I can go from one to the other because there's so much in my head that even after this, and they can see how I can jump back and forth. Even if people want to if you have a section somewhere where they can ask questions, what they'd want me to really go specific into, if they want. That way I can tunnel my vision maybe into something. I won't stay there long. I'll be off somewhere else.
There's so many areas to cover there. We had race car driving, we had bodybuilding pro championships, but supplementation, drugs.
Get into when I did movies, and I was the body for the first Hulk movie and stuff like that. No.
When you're going through the career app, though, I was like, where I wanted to sort of see, I guess, for our guys is where the priorities were and the mindset that how that went that carried you through it, and I guess your approach to it all. And particularly, I think one area that was something we should pick out and rehash on was throughout it all. The mindset behind it was quite interesting. Was that it wasn't don't make it a chore. Don't make this to the detriment of all other areas of your life. Fitness is something that has to be sort of built around your lifestyle. And I guess making that something that's sustainable, so you can do it for 37 years.
Make it fun, because as I said, even when I got into the car racing, I made that fun. Like I said, the bodybuilding, I wanted to be like He-Man. I enjoyed doing it, building the muscle, and it became my career. When I met those people in the car racing, I enjoyed the car racing, got my license. And I'm like, wow, this is fun. I started winning races and won the championship doing that. And it's like anything. I always tell people, in anything in life, even bodybuilding, sports, strongest thing you're really going to have, yes, you're going to have strong muscles and shit, but the strongest thing you're ever going to have is up here in your head. Just that focus you're going to get, the determination, what you put into it. But in the meantime, still enjoy while you're doing it. It's like I could have easily said, fuck, I hate dieting. This is boring. I got no life and shit like that, and which some people do. And, if you start thinking that way, like anyone that thinks negative, you're going to come down. So, but it doesn't have to be bodybuilding. It could be like if you're entering into some sort of business thing, keep it fun, enjoy it. Don't make it like, oh shit, I got this many years of study to do, and I got to go through this and all this book work. I've never done that, but somehow try and make it fun, make it enjoyable, make it some sort of challenge where you enjoy doing it. Then you think, okay, once I get through this, look at what I'm going to become, look what I can do. And I remember Arnold used to talk about it, the discipline that he learned from bodybuilding and all that he learned from that, he put that same discipline into his movie career. When he said he was going to be an actor, people laughed at him, and then he became one of the highest paid actors. And then when he said he's going to run for governor, they laughed at him, and he'd tell me that he put the same discipline, that focus that he had from bodybuilding and training and all that sort of stuff, he used that same focus and mindset for every other aspect of his life, and he succeeded in it. So
yeah, because it's a very repeatable process, a very transferable skill set, right? And very much business. A lot of our listeners they own supplement stores, gyms, their PTs, coaches, their online coach, but they're business owners, right? And a lot of I guess the area of content we've covered previously has been very much people's approach to I suppose people who might be thinking about starting a business, people who might have started a business, be in the early phases, and it's very similar to early days of bodybuilding. When you're first starting out, you've got to really grind to get through that early phases. You have to wear a lot of hats. You have to be able to manage your own. You got to be able to manage your own workload. Try and prevent burnout. Try and make your life fit into it as well.
I think burnout is not even burnout, but even setbacks. I said you're going to get it, whether it be in sport, business. If you're going to start a new business venture, you're going to come across setbacks. Whether you don't win a show or your dieting messes up. Just for the average person going to the gym, you miss a day. The main thing is don't beat yourself up about it. We're all human. You're going to have shit days and bad days and good days and stuff, but just appreciate the good ones. And if you do have a bad day, I used to have them sometimes, and I sit there and go, oh, I had a shit workout. And I just beat myself up all day about it. But you know what? Forget about it. It's done. Move on. Look to tomorrow. Have another better day. So whatever it is, just if you have little setbacks, just keep going forward. Keep moving forward with it. It's like I said, we're all going to have them. You go for a job interview that you really want and you get turned down. You could easily go, well, fuck this, I'm not going for another interview. But just, just go for another interview, do whatever. It's just got to keep, persevering in it, just in anything. So just like I said, I see so many people get down hard. And yes, I sometimes think too, if we go back to the internet, because everyone's, people look at Instagram and everyone's life is perfect and fucking rosy on Instagram and stuff. And like I said, I know a few people personally that are on Instagram. If I look at their Instagram page, I'd be like, wow, what a fucking great life they have. But yet I could get the same phone call from the person, fuck, my wife's doing this, she's done this, she's cheated on me, she's fucking it. Well, wait a minute. On wife, it's on fucking Instagram, it's like the perfect family. You're out having holidays. I know she's cheating, she's taking money out of my account and stuff. So I think people just need to be happy with themselves, which I know it's just harder to do these days because we are looking at this world where everyone else for some reason seems so much better. But it's fake. Everything on the internet pretty much is fake. They're all fake people out there portraying they want to be a certain way. So just be happy with yourself. And I always find if you can be happy with yourself, whether, but I know because with the internet too, people are in this industry. They think they've got to look a certain way to be happy. You don't have to be. You might be a little bit overweight, but just be happy with that, because if you're not putting yourself down as much, if your goal is to lose weight, that's great. Even because some people, I've looked at people before, because some people have said to me, look at the person, they're overweight and unhealthy. I said, how do you know? Because I've had friends who are overweight, but yet I've seen their health tests, I've seen their blood work, they're healthy. I've seen overweight guys and women, they could fucking outwalk me and outjog me, because, you don't just, I think sometimes you have that stereotype of if someone looks a certain way, oh, they're lazy and this and that, where generally they're not. So I just think people shouldn't put, these, not stereotypes, but I think these preconceived ideas on people of, you got to look a certain way or be a certain way. Or
Well, that's a good one to and as an interesting last question. I want to know, because that was something that I think we need to pull out of that. When you said there's a lot of expectation to look a certain way, and as someone who's looked like genuinely like not even human for big parts of your life, the level of physique you attained even from your early teenage years, when you see photos back then, you think it's genuinely unattainable, and you look at now and people sort of compare themselves to this and go, why don't I walk around with abs all year? Why don't I walk around why am I in better body shape? Why have I got more muscle mass? What have you? But I guess, is there any advice you give to people, particularly training, with these expectations on themselves, or how you would approach it with mindset for people who do see these highlight reels of people just being in comp shape, on their Instagram feed? But is that realistic? Like, what did you always do? What was your approach?
I love in comp shape year round. I remember when we used to do photo shoots, we would do them like 2 weeks before a contest or a week after. We'll do every body part. So throughout the year, they'll be running those photos. So people think you're in shape all year round because these photos come out every month. And, Lee's still in shape. But if you saw me, you're like, holy fuck, look at him. People would even, when I say look at him, they don't recognize me. I was actually doing a appearance somewhere once at like a contest where I just signed photos. Because I'm sitting there, all my photos are me in shape, the chiseled jaw, abs. I'm sitting there like 280 behind the table. And this person comes over and they're like, oh, when will Lee be here to sign the photos? And I'm like, he should be here soon.
Brutal. It's so like cruel though, isn't it? Like, we've got this platform now that we constantly compare ourselves to others. Whereas before, you're right. Like, that was like when I started training, it was just bodybuilding magazines. We were the ones that were like MD and Flex and so on, were like the ones that were around. And you'd read them and you'd see that person would only have to have a photo shoot once, twice, 3 times a year. The rest of their life, they could go back to normal. If they wanted to wear a hoodie and get a bit and put a bit of size on, it didn't matter, Or in normal people's lives, you see, like, if Susie Homemaker wants to lose a few pounds, she doesn't have to compare herself to the girl on her feed with abs. It's just, but it's such a flawed system because people set themselves up almost a failure, constantly comparing themselves to it.
I always get people who are like, I'd always hate it too. People call up, I'm going to be the next lead priest, and this is where people are going to be. I'm going to be the next whoever. It's like, how about you just be the first you, be the best you. Maybe you be that good that somebody says, hey, I want to be like Will. It's like, yes, we're going to compare ourselves to others and say, I want to be like this, but how about just be the best you can be? Because who knows, you might be an inspiration for somebody later on. It's always like that saying years ago, I was like, in this world, I may be a nobody, but to somebody, I may be their world. So it's like, we all walk around thinking we're nobodies and stuff, but who knows, even like I said, somebody that goes to the gym who thinks, look, I've seen ladies go to Anytime Fitness here who I've seen them 6 months ago, they're a little bit heavier and now they're down in weight. And she probably still thinks to herself, hey, I'm not in shape, I feel shit. But yet I've noticed a change. But how did she know that there could be other women in the gym who are looking at her going, wow, she's, because sometimes people don't tell, we just keep to ourselves. But I'm sure there's good women in the gym who have noticed her, but she could be feeling down on herself. But yet these other women could be thinking she's an inspiration to them and stuff like that. So you never know what's out there. So just like I said, you got to be, I know it's hard sometimes, like I said, with the internet to be comfortable with yourself, but I say just be the best you, because you never know who you're inspiring. Sadly, I don't know, with this day and age, back before people would come over and say, hey, you're looking good, you're doing well. Now, if you do that, if I walked up to the girl in the gym and said, hey, you're looking great, you've made some changes, you'd probably think, fucking pervert, staring at me. It's like, you're too scared these days to say anything or do anything. Whereas I think that's where we should be able to compliment somebody or say, hey, you're doing a great job and stuff. And it's like, I'm not trying to hit on you. I'm just saying, look, I've noticed changes you're doing. Who knows? That could make her whole day. So, if you see someone, give them a compliment and stuff. As I said, we're so quick to bitch about people and put them down and stuff. But, to give someone a compliment, I don't think we do it often enough when, we should.
That's a crack way, man. And look, definitely we're going to have you on for part 2 more. And I want to try and I think I'll throw in the show notes an opportunity to give, and we'll put it up on our Instagram as well, an opportunity for people to actually ask some specific questions around, because there's so much, like you said, like there's been acting parts, there's been bodybuilding careers, there's been racing, there's a huge area to unpack. I'm all wanting to sort of unpack the real fundamentals, the diet, the nutrition, the mindset.
Being younger, when I tried to commit suicide when I was younger, I've done it all. When I had the car accident after the universe, and I got hooked on Oxycontin and that, put myself in detox for 2 weeks, and that's I've gone through stages too, where I got voted best arms in the sport, and for a while after the car accident, even till today, people say, "Oh, you got the best arms." I'm like, because still to this day, because of that nerve damage, this arm's sort of still atrophied a bit, and sometimes I get pissed about that. I'm thinking, "Fuck, I had the best arms. I still have one good arm." And even my bad arm, people say it looks good, but to me, I can be hard on myself, and I can't still train properly like I used to. I still go to the gym, but it's not the same. So I can cover aspects of depression, suicide. I tried to cut my wrist, and
Oh, mate, it's and anyone who's if you've had 37 years in the fitness industry, mate, I'm sure we've got a lot we can delve into in the second part too, 100%. And I'll make this on the Instagram post.
On marriage, I'm on my 5th marriage. I can help people out there too.
Oh, phenomenal! We'll make it Lee's relationship advice for part 2. We'll just
don't make these mistakes. Don't think the grass is greener. I did that. I went and I always say it's probably my biggest regret when I was married to Kathy. She was a female bodybuilder. I met a fitness girl and thought the grass was greener and left her and went there, and just seeing her sit on the floor devastated, me walking out, and she's like, "What did I do wrong?" I'm like, "You did nothing wrong, it was me. I fucked up," and shit like that. That's probably my biggest regret today. So I can tell you about mistakes, not what make, because the grass is not greener, trust me. I know we all think that sometimes we get in relationships and we get set in that relationship, but it's just crazy that
Good lesson, mate. It's good, and that's very much the same in most areas of life. I think that the like that highlight reel we've spoken about a number of times now in this episode is a big part of what makes people not really ever achieve happiness in their current situation, and it makes you miss the appealing part of all this thread that we've spoken about. The whole common thread through all of it is that the journey that you get is usually the reward to it. Like it's the actual prep. The day on stage is all you're up there for half an hour done. That's 6 months work gone. But the 6 months of you improving yourself, the taller person you had to be in pro level conditioning is a vastly different person. The person who has to win the state show, very different person who just trains locally at their gym for fun, and as a different person to this person who is just trying to start walking for the first time. And the same in business as well. The person who's running a multi-million-dollar company is a very different animal to the person who has to run a startup who's just doing it out of their basement. And there's different levels along the way in all areas. And if you compare yourself to the last tier and you're at the first, you'll want to hang yourself. So you've got to.
I think too, it's like no matter what it is, bodybuilding, business, whatever. I think for some reason we don't appreciate it, or we don't see what you have. It's like I could sit here and people could look at me and go, "Lee, wow, you've had this life, you've done this and done that, you got this now, you got that." But because it's yourself, you don't see it. It's like you're looking at, "Wow, I like to have his life." So I think sometimes you just need to step back and take a deep breath and just take it, for granted, just see what you have and appreciate what you have. Because I put a post up not long ago where I'm saying I see so many people complaining about, "Oh, I don't have this, I don't have that." It's like, you know what? I said, just you're woken up breathing today. Just be happy. It's like, here you are, you've woken up, you got a roof over your head, you got food on the table, you got a job, or you're going to the gym now to train, and all you're doing is bitching about life. I said, there's some poor bastard laying in bed now, taking their last breaths. Today's their last day or their last hour on earth. They're wishing to have what you have right now. You have it. And so, if I can make good use of it, don't take it for granted. So that's the thing. I think we just do take things for granted like that, and we just don't really just sit back and, you know what, I really have everything I need. It's like, yeah, you could always want more, sure. You can get 7-inch TV and suddenly you make this to 8-inch TV. Like, fuck, now I want the 80-inch TV. It's like, it just becomes a point where just be happy with what you have. Yes, if you want to work for that, that's fine later on, but don't just always be wanting. Just be, like I said, I've gone to countries where around the world where I see young kids here and it annoys me. I'm bored. I haven't got this. I'm thinking, you got PlayStations, you got electric scooters, you got phones. I've been to places in South Africa and Africa where I see young kids. We go to this one village. They have like a fucking 2-liter milk bottle with sticks through it and the caps on it. There's wheels and a rope, and they're pulling this around for hours, laughing their heads off, having the most fun. I'm thinking, could you imagine kids in Australia or America playing with a fucking water bottle in the dirt, thinking it's a truck? I mean, here we have everything. We just take it for granted, and we're on board. I haven't got this. I want this. It's like, sadly, like when you get into the other side too, it's where you're talking about depression and kids this. And I said, well, it's not real. I said there's a difference between depression and just having spoiled kids because, there are kids that are depressed because mentally their chemicals are off and shit like that. But then there's a difference between, Mum, I want the new iPhone 13. I've only got the iPhone 10. Everyone else at school's got the iPhone 13. Well, I'm not getting it for you. And then it's like, oh, the kid's depressed. He's upset. He's like, no, he's just a spoiled little prick. He's got a phone. So, it's like some of the shit that people say that depression got mental issues over aren't fucking problems at all. It's just that they want the latest thing, and because they don't get it, I'm going to hang myself, Mum. You come home and find me hanging. You didn't get the iPhone. It's like, it's just crazy when you see, like I said, other countries where they have nothing, but yet they're some of the happiest people I've ever seen, and we have everything. And the suicide rate here is through the roof. The depression rate here is through the roof. I'm thinking, there's another study I might get a grant to look into, because you go to some of these, like I said, Hawaii or Fiji, where they have minimum. They don't have like the internet things we have, the movies we have, all the stuff we have. They have basic stuff. And I've been to places where they still, like I said, go down to the water, the river to get the water and stuff. And they're like the happiest, smiling all the time. I'm sure I could go into Newcastle now where you got the beautiful beach and everything. I'd see probably more miserable fucking people complaining about shit than anywhere, like I said. So it's funny, crazy when you see these perspectives and how people are when, like I said, we have it all here, yet we sit here and complain about stuff, and people who have nothing are much happier. It's like weird.
Powerful message, mate. No, 1,000%. Perspective is a big part. The grass isn't greener, and the looking at what you've got currently. Because you're right, there are a lot like the part where you're at a lot of the time. There's a lot to be said for it. I think that's a powerful one in itself, mate. I think the mindset part has been a really strong theme throughout this and how you approach things. And I think that has to be there, whether it is bodybuilding, fitness, business, just any area of life, really. If you can carry that perspective over, I think that's probably why a lot of the people you've met in your travels, like the Arnies, the Freaknos, have done so well, because they had the same mindset that carried them and serviced them well through their bodybuilding career.
It sounds weird. I said, sometimes I said, remember when you were a kid, everything was new and fun? I said, try, and as you get older, I said, you can still just try find that kid in yourself. Even like I said, when the Newcastle Knights were doing shit, I think, now, why don't they just find that kid in themselves? It's like, yes, you're playing for Newcastle, you got the pressures of sponsors and shit, but I said, if you can have fun doing it and go back to that. Remember when you play at school with your mates? That was fun. You'd have fun just playing football. If you can find that inner kid in yourself again and get that enthusiasm and just play like that again, the rest will come. Your sponsors will be happy. You'll be winning games. Like I said, if we put too much pressure on ourselves to be the best or do this or be a certain way to live up to someone's expectation, generally you're going to fail or hate whatever you're doing. So no matter what it is, just have fun doing it. I said, if you find that, like I said, that inner kid in you where everything just seems new, you love doing it, you're going to have fun doing it again. That's why I said if I go to the gym, I'd go in and just have fun doing it. I wouldn't think of it as a job. When I got ready for that Mr. Universe comeback, I thought, I'm making a comeback here. This is going to be hard. For the first month or so, that's all I thought about. Fuck, I'm going to come back. And the pressure I put on myself, I didn't want to do it. So I said, you know what, Lee, forget about it. I just changed my mind, said, look, I'm going to get in shape. I'm going to the Mr. Universe to guest pose. That was it. So I thought about guest posing going there. And at the time, I met my wife at the time who had a couple of kids. And people were like, oh, my God, Lee, you got kids. That's going to be a distraction. And I'm like, yeah, it was, but it was a good one, because before I met her, I was sitting at home, training, dieting, thinking about that. I'd just go for a walk. Universe was on my mind. Once she moved in, I'd go to the gym and train, but when I got home, I'd play with the younger kids. I'd take them out walk and drop them off at school. I had this other outlet where my mind could just not be constantly bombarded with the thing. And then when I thought, I'm just going to guest pose, I'm not going to compete. It was like a weight was lifted off my shoulders. I was just getting ready for this guest posing exhibition. So it's just so much easier. But, just help people find that little kid inside yourself again and just enjoy it. Because I said, I think now we all try and grow up. I remember when I was at school, I can't fucking wait to leave school. I hate this place. Sometimes, now I look back, I'm like, that was some of the best days of my life. I wish I could go back to school where you had no worries in the world. Everything was fun. You'd leave school and go play with your mates after school. So, I think we just got to, just learn to relax a bit and just
take it in. Yeah, good, mate.
It does go quick, because I like to thank all my fans who post those videos of me online and tag me in them, but stop fucking doing it. No wonder I want to kill myself. I look good then, and I look at myself and go, oh, shit, what happened? Or I can remember something plain as day. I'm like, I remember that. And I'm like, oh, fuck, that was 97. How long ago? 8, 9, fuck. I was like, time goes so quick. I remember like you're young and your parents tell you as you get older, it goes quicker. You're like, yeah, sure it does, whatever. It does. I'm just thinking some of the things people put up, and then I see, like I said, there's so many. Joe Gold, he was like a grandfather to me when he passed away. He left me his dog. So there's so many people who are in my videos who have now passed away. I'm like, oh, fuck, now I'm getting depressed even more. So it's like,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Oh, look at
time does go quick, people. It goes quick.
Mate, I think what are some gems, mate? I'm going to put this down. So any of our listeners who are here now, we're going to throw this in the show notes and on the when do an Instagram post for the episode as well. We'll ask questions to people that would like to get for our part 2 of Lee more specifically. But mate, thank you so much for your time. I know you're a busy man. You've got heaps on. And is there anything, I guess, what can we expect to see in the near future from Lee Priest, mate? What do we got? What are some projects you're working on now for our viewers to keep an eye out for?
Catch me at any time, Mayfield. You catch me at coffee and cookies in Mayfield, eating cookies, and then a new cookie shop in Mayfield. And you want to catch me at McDonald's, Mayfield. I appear at all these places, you know.
All these guest appearances.
All free. I don't charge them. They actually charge me to eat there. But yeah, at the moment, I'm just, like I said, probably been in talks with Dave, and that's making the move over there, changing sponsors. So that could always be like that could be part of anxiety. Being 50 years old and making a move to another company. So I was like, oh God, here we go there. But I've just been training, doing whatever. Training the best I can, but yeah, just enjoying life really. So yeah, really things. I start thinking about doing stuff. You know, sometimes I think about doing podcasts, and I'm no good at editing and shit like that, so I can't do that. So I probably could. My wife said you could learn it easy, but I'm like, oh. And that's the thing. I love doing podcasts, talking, but if I had to do it myself, I might not enjoy it. That's why I said if I don't enjoy something, I won't give it 100%. But if I did, someone else had it for me, I'm like, hey, that's great. It's like when I used to race cars and won the championship. My mate that owned the car said, Lee, why don't you go buy a car? And then I said, well, now I'd have to get a trailer, tow it to the track. If it blows up, I got to fix it. I said, here I just fly in, I race your car. If it blows up, I just watch the race for the rest of the day, sit in the hotel and fly home tomorrow. It's much more fun.
It's got to be fun, doesn't it? I think this platform has been, thanks to our listeners, because this has been a platform that Stu and I started, and Matt Highgate as well. We started, right before when the sort of Aussie sup industry was starting to get threatened by some changes by the TJ. And since then, it's been a really, I suppose, we've had on some amazing people. We've had owners of supplement brands, some of the CEOs of some of the biggest companies in the industry. We've had coaches, PTs. We've had on like bodybuilding legends. We've had on all formulating. Mate, we've had some amazing guests, and it's been the most cool project that. Even though it's a non-commercial thing, like there's no sponsors to the show, there's no Stu and I don't derive anything from it. Matt didn't either. Just because it's a cool thing. It's a platform that's allowed me to have conversations with people I would never be never be able to sort of sit down and have a chat with. And that in itself, I think, has made it such a cool project that it has no destination, but that doesn't matter because every episode is just like, oh, cool. Like today, I didn't think I woke up and went, wow, I'm going to speak to Lee Priest. That's a bodybuilding legend. How cool is that? That's a Friday morning. When do you think you're going to get that done?
I'm thinking I'm going to speak to Will today. Look at that.
See, perspective, mate. Perspective, right? Yeah, cool. But and that's the part of it.
What I know is next time you're at Anytime Fitness and you're going to hop on that hip thruster, you'll be like this.
I'll put a towel. I'm going to do it with a towel over my head or something.
Let me just check your please. If you start thrusting and you hear, fucking dickhead.
Just driving past too, just on the main road there, just throwing rocks.
If you see him on the machine, give me a call so I can come in. Don't do far.
I'll FaceTime you. Good as gold, mate. Well, look, thanks for your time, mate. I know you're busy, mate. But look, thanks again. We'll have you on part 2. We'll throw in the show notes some questions. And mate, until part 2, thanks again. It was great having you along.
Thank you very much.